Okay, hear me out. What if island, but human-shaped? Well, hello there, I'm Détroit. Sometimes I get the urge to paint, but I don't have the tool to paint traditionally. I don't have an easel, a canvas, brushes, or even the paint itself. I also lack the skills to do so, having never done it since I was like 5. What I do have, on the other hand, is a good XP Pen digital graphics tablet, and Photoshop. I'm talking about digital painting today rather than drawing because for all intents and purposes, I'm closer to painting than usual. I'm limiting my use of digital tools as much as I can. I'm building everything onto layers, but I'm only using a paintbrush and not really using an eraser. I am also not using the lasso tool, the undo button, and the layer styles. Everything I'm doing is by hand, with an additive process. If I paint over something by mistake, then I need to redraw it. That's in theory, at least. In practice, I do use digital tools a bit at different points because I don't want to force myself too much. I could follow all of that, but that wouldn't make the painting better or more interesting. I'm not trying to challenge myself today, I simply want to loosely follow some guidelines I put there myself. The goal is still to make a cool illustration, not to struggle to do in 5 hours what I could easily do in 3. What I want to paint today is an idea I've had for a long time. I have old abandoned sketches of this idea, of a human-shaped series of islands. The way I see it, I want to draw a human being that is floating. You know, with half the head out, parts of the arms, the chest, etc. Basically, you take a character, then split it vertically. What's left is the parts that stick out of the water. In this case, it's the face, a bit of the shoulders, the chest, and parts of the biceps. In all of my old sketches, the plane of the water was horizontal. I always struggled to make it look good in the past, but today I decided to switch it up and make a slanted horizon. It makes the picture more dynamic and brings the view in between looking from above and to the side. That slanted horizon instantly made me think of a view from a helicopter while it's turning. And that's where the final puzzle pieces came together. That is what was missing from my original ideas. It's decided, I'm adding a helicopter on the bottom right corner. We're gonna go over it a bit later on, but that's a great point for storytelling. Something I did on a whim when I started painting after the initial sketch was choosing the time of day. When I first pictured this prompt for drawing, I always imagine an island with a blue sky, blue water, and stuff you see on tropical resorts posters and postcards. I rarely draw nighttime scenes because I'm still bad with lighting and environment combined, but today is the day. I instantly switched references and found pictures of islands at sunset. It looks really cool and it gives me the opportunity to use a lot of colors I really like purples, reds, and yellows all together in one picture. I knew I made the right choice because painting the water was effortless and I liked the result immediately. Does it ever happen to you too? When you draw something without thinking about it too much and it turns out good and it feels incredible because everything comes together perfectly. That's what it was like, starting the colors on this illustration. After the water, I added clouds in the sky, another opportunity to add contrast, with big blocky shapes, shadows, and thin highlights. I'm saying I didn't think much about the process, but in truth, that's only because of the knowledge I've accumulated while drawing constantly. With the position of the light source, I knew where the highlights were, how to use soft and dark edges to define the clouds, and how to slowly bring the colors darker around the shape to make it feel nice. With the way clouds are, I also know that the base of the clouds tends to be flatter than the top and also wider, which means the light won't travel through it as good as at the top. So the bottom is a bit darker, while the light scattering is a bit more saturated near the top. I tried to apply the same principles with the archipelago itself, with the human islands, but that was a bit harder. I had to cheat the colors a bit. With the type of lighting in this scene, the time of day and everything, normally the island would only appear black or really dark brown. I used green tones, but that's only a cheat to make the picture nicer, even if it's less realistic. If you think about it, a green canopy illuminated by a reddish light would only turn out grey or brown depending on the tones and the intensity. I cheated by adding more green that would have been realistic, but my goal is to make a cool illustration from scratch, not to replicate a picture. In order to make it feel like trees on the island, I painted the canopy with loose strokes, a bit randomized. Since the beginning, I haven't changed the presets of the brush at all, so that's 80% opacity with pressure sensitivity for the size and the opacity as well. By combining a lot of small strokes, the canopy starts to be defined, and where the strokes overlap, the color is brought out a little bit. With the changes in opacity, I can also slowly make the light green disappear where the islands gets darker with the shadows. To add more contrast, I'm going back in with a very dark desaturated green to make small shadows inside the green canopy. This brings the light green out even more and makes it feel like a dense canopy where the taller trees cast shadows on the smaller ones. Finally, I add the smallest yellow highlights at the edges of the tree closest to the light source, the setting sun. So far the process is going smoothly. I'm using big strokes to roughly define everything, and only after am I going in a bit closer for details, highlights and such. I am tempted to leave it like that, but my idea was to add a helicopter, so here we go. By the way, I have a question, do you pronounce it a helicopter or an helicopter? With the H in front, I'm tempted to say a helicopter, but an helicopter seems more natural. Tell me in the comments anyway. The point of view for the scene isn't from the helicopter, it's from above it. You, the observer, is seeing this helicopter discovering the island. In my head, the helicopter is a light metallic grey color, so that will be very reflective. With the rounded side, the light will bounce on it straight from the setting sun. So in the light grey, I'm adding touches of light blue from the sky and all the tones from pink to yellow. In front of the open side door, there's the pilot's side window, which will be even more reflective than the surface of the helicopter. So on the dark base of the window, the colors I'm adding are more saturated and closer to the colors near the clouds, all the way on the horizon. That is also nice composition-wise, because it brings back the other side of the picture in a nice way, rather than having a full picture that is essentially one gradient from the top left to the bottom right. At the edge of the door, a character is sitting, holding herself to the door and talking on a satellite phone or a walkie-talkie. And that is how I'm telling the story of this particular scene. With the big boots, the dark shorts and the weird colored shirt, I basically want to draw a Lara Croft lookalike. I would have used a desaturated yellowish green for the top, but with the sunset it looks redder to the point of being closer to purple than red. It doesn't matter, it's not Lara Croft, but it's a similar vibe. This is an explorer arriving to the human-shaped island via helicopter. Rather than presenting the island to the viewer of this picture, now it tells a whole story. Somebody is discovering this island and talking to someone on the phone, reporting their findings. Was this island never discovered before? I could tell you, but that wouldn't be fun. The whole point is that you, the viewer, ask the question yourself and also find the answers yourself in your imagination. Even the fires going out of the island's eyes, nose and mouth are for you to figure out. In reality, the fires are to emphasize that this island is human-shaped. I would have had no problem if this scene was during daytime, but here, all the attempts I made at defining features on the head turned kinda bad. You can also see me struggle a bit with the character, because painting a character is more difficult than drawing one, but I think I managed to do good enough, especially when zoomed out to see the full picture. The last things that really gave me trouble are the helicopter blades. For that, I did use a fair bit of digital tools. I used a mask to change the opacity at first, but that looked bad. In the end, I deleted it and used a soft eraser to bring out the blades with a bit of motion blur. I used the lasso tool to move one blade as well. With a clipping mask, I then added color to the metallic blades. It's basically the only part of the whole painting where I really use digital tools, rather than just painting over and over again. Just to remind you, today isn't a day I want to challenge myself to be as analog as possible. I have digital tools in hand. I want to make the process as natural as possible, but still without unnecessary effort. I didn't want to struggle. I just wanted to paint, not think about anything else. Make a cool original illustration that also tells an interesting story. So what story does this drawing inspire you? Tell me in comments. What is this island? Who's the woman on the helicopter and what is she doing here? Exercise your imagination with me. I hope you enjoyed this drawing process and this nice picture. I definitely felt relaxed making it. As always, I'm forced to ask you to like and comment, which I already did anyway, and please consider subscribing. That's the best way you can support me. It's totally free and it's not like I'll spam your YouTube feed every day. Do check out my art on social media if you want to see more, that too is free, and I don't know, maybe show this to a friend of yours. I'm Detroit, I create human-shaped islands, and I'll see you in a few days. Bye!